So I'm kind of nervous, but really excited. And I don't think I have a specific question, but kind of more general. Just want to talk. So I'd like to thank you for writing down your emotional guidance scale, because that was really life-changing for me. And in thinking about moving from optimism to positive expectation and belief, I've noticed that it seems like from optimism down is where I really deal with feelings. And moving into positive expectation and belief, it doesn't feel like a feeling. It's more of a truth or a state of being to me.
Well, maybe perfect alignment and utterly coming home to all that you are is a peacefulness that is so resistance-free,
right,
that you just float in the freedom of that.
Right. Yeah, so I guess I'm looking for a way to make it a lot simpler, because Well,
we've been simplifying it also, because we talked about all those emotions, because we know for sure that revenge feels better than fear. And hope feels a whole lot better. But belief feels a whole lot better than hope. And knowing feels better than belief. In other words, we know, but you have to play with it enough to feel those subtle feelings. And the subtlety of it is not really important. In other words, the conscious, specific awareness of what you're doing vibrationally is satisfying. But in the beginning, the general awareness is enough.
Right.
So we've been recently talking about if you find yourself, and of course, you're not even in the ballpark of what we're going to say next with your question. If you are feeling specifically negative about something because something has happened and you're talking about it and you're focusing on the wrongdoing of it, and you can just bring yourself right to your knees because you can deprive yourself so much of who you are. If you'll get generally negative, you'll feel better. In other words, if you'll make general statements like, oh, well, life just sucks, or oh, well, that's just the way those people are, or well, I've met that kind of thing before, or this isn't my first encounter with something like that. In the generality of it, you begin to ease up.
Right.
Where the specifics of it keep you negatively focused. And from a general feeling of negative emotion, you can move into a general feeling of positive emotion really easily.
Right.
You can morph into, well, I don't have to think about this now, and things always get better for me, and there are a lot of things that are working, and I don't know why I'm making such a big deal over that. In other words, it's pretty easy to move into a general place of well-being.
Right.
But that general place of well-being, as you move from a general place of well-being into a more specific place of well-being, what happens is that every subject has vibrational frequencies that are on opposite ends of the in other words, when you really, really want something, there's a really, really not wanted on the other end of it.
Right.
When you sort of want it, there's a sort of not wanted on the other end of it. So sometimes, without meaning to, as you try to be more specific about what you do want, you activate where you really are on the other end of it. And that's why we say, just go general, go general, go general, go general, and pretty soon you will diffuse the vibration of it enough that it just won't come up for you anymore. Okay. Don't overwork it. Don't overthink it. That's the problem with getting so specific about so many processes, and we've been eternal spewers of processes, and we never will stop, because it's really fun to dig into something that you can deliberately apply. But just don't work hard at this. In other words, everything that we're saying to you here today is about just chilling and accepting where you are. And so earlier, it sounded like we were talking about people really finding themselves in peril, accepting where they are and not freaking out. But we don't want you to freak out of only being in belief and not being in total knowing either. We don't want you to freak out about only being optimistic and not being in constant passionate joy. In other words, we want wherever you are along the emotional scale, from despair all the way to where you ultimately want to be all right, because there is no end to the ecstasy, and that's not even a big enough word, to what you have the potential of becoming, because it's going to keep being more and keep being more and keep being more. You're never going to stop being at the beginning of your journey. You're never, ever going to stop being at the beginning of your journey. It's time to make peace with it wherever it is, you see.
Right.
Good time for a segment of refreshment.